We live in an unusual moment. We have more opportunities to communicate than any generation before us. At almost any moment, we can message someone, watch someone, react to someone, argue with someone, or find out what someone we haven't spoken to in 8 years ate for breakfast. We are surrounded by evidence of other people, but evidence of people is not necessarily the same as connection. In 2025, the World Health Organization's Commission on Social Connection reported that approximately 1 in 6 people worldwide experience loneliness. Among adolescents and young adults, the figure was closer to 1 in 5. That doesn't mean 1 in 6 people are actually physically alone. Loneliness is not simply the absence of people. It is the painful gap between the connection you have and the connection you want and need to feel. You can feel lonely in a relationship. You can feel lonely at a party. You can feel lonely while receiving messages all day. And importantly, you can spend a lot of time alone without feeling lonely at all. Solitude can be restorative. It can give us room to think, create, and hear ourselves without having to perform. Isolation, though, is different. Isolation gradually makes our lives smaller. Solitude says, I enjoy my own company, whilst isolation says it is safer not to need anyone. And from the outside, these can look almost identical. Independence is generally treated as an unquestionable virtue. And of course, having autonomy matters. Being able to make decisions, support yourself, establish boundaries, and walk away from unhealthy dynamics is valuable. But I think we sometimes confuse independence with invulnerability. We imagine that the strongest possible person is someone who needs very little from someone. They are never disappointed because they never expect anything. They are never rejected because they never ask. They are never misunderstood because they never fully explain themselves. Nobody can abandon them because they leave first, or they never really arrive. But is that actually independence? Or is this a defense strategy? Healthy independence does not mean refusing to need people. It means being able to connect with people without completely abandoning yourself. It means you can ask for help without believing you are helpless. You can love someone without making them responsible for your entire identity. You can set a boundary without building a wall around your whole life. And you can tolerate the risk that comes with being known, because real relationships are inconvenient. People misunderstand you. They interrupt your routine. They have needs at the wrong time. They will sometimes disappoint you. And you will sometimes disappoint them. That friction is not always evidence that a relationship is toxic. Sometimes it is simply evidence that another person exists. When we spend too much time thinking of ourselves as personal development projects, relationships can begin to feel like disruptions. Every interaction is assessed according to whether it adds value, protects our energy, or supports our goals. We start speaking about human beings as if they are applications running in the background of our lives. They are either productive, distracting, aligned, or no longer serving us. But people are not productivity tools. Connection is rarely efficient. At the same time, we are living with an extraordinary amount of emotional stimuli. Before breakfast, you can encounter a tragedy, a political argument, somebody's engagement announcement, a fitness transformation, a luxury holiday, a public humiliation, a motivational quote, and a video of an unusually talented dog. Your nervous system is expected to process all of this while you are brushing your teeth. And social media is not simply something we consume. We also use it to regulate ourselves. We open our phones when we are bored, when we are anxious, when we feel awkward, when somebody has upset us, when we can't sleep, when we are waiting for a reply, when we do not want to think about the fact that the reply may not be coming. Sometimes this is harmless. Sometimes a funny video genuinely does give us a break. Sometimes an online community helps someone feel understood. Research does not support the simplistic claim that all social media use is inherently bad. Digital spaces can offer information, creativity, community, and meaningful connection, particularly for people who struggle to find those things offline. The problem is not merely that we use technology, it is that we may reach for stimulus so quickly that we never discover what we were feeling before we reached for it. The phone intervenes, the podcast starts, the series continues, the food arrives. The notification appears, and the emotion does not disappear. It simply goes unnamed. There is a word we now use constantly, triggered. Sometimes it has a precise clinical meaning, but in everyday conversation, it often means something activated a strong emotional response in us. The risk is that when we describe every difficult feeling as something another person triggered, we can start relating to our emotions as invasions. Something happened to me. Someone made me feel this. I need to make the feeling stop. Emotional curiosity offers a different approach. Instead of asking, how do I get rid of this feeling? You ask, what exactly is happening here? Not because the emotion is always correct. Emotions are real, but they are not always accurate descriptions of reality. Feeling rejected does not necessarily mean you have been rejected. Feeling unsafe does not always mean you are in danger. Feeling guilty does not automatically mean you have done something wrong. And feeling peaceful does not always mean you are making the right decision. Sometimes peace is acceptance. Sometimes peace is a relief because you have avoided something difficult. Curiosity helps us tell the difference. For example, you can ask, what exactly am I feeling? Where can I feel it in my body? What happened just before it appeared? What meaning am I attaching to what happened? What am I assuming? What does this emotion appear to want me to do? And would taking the action actually serve me? This is not about overanalyzing every emotional fluctuation, and it is not about sitting in a room for 6 hours interrogating your sadness. The goal here is clarity. Research on emotional regulation suggests that awareness becomes more useful when it is accompanied by emotional clarity, the ability to identify and understand what we are experiencing. Attention without clarity can simply be rumination. In other words, noticing that you feel awful is only the beginning. The next question is, awful in what way? Are you lonely? Are you feeling embarrassed, envious, disappointed, overstimulated, excluded, resentful, ashamed, uncertain? Those emotions may feel similar in the body, but they do not necessarily need the same response. Overstimulation might require quiet. Loneliness might require contact. Resentment might require a boundary. Shame might require speaking honestly to somebody safe. Sadness may simply require time. When every uncomfortable feeling receives the same response, scroll, withdraw, distract, cancel, we stop responding to our needs and start responding to the discomfort itself. So here is the question I've been asking myself. Am I creating space or am I disappearing? Because protecting your peace can become such a compelling identity that nobody is allowed to disturb you. Not with conflict, not with needs, not with feedback, not with closeness, not even with love, because love also introduces uncertainty. There is a difference between saying, this relationship is harmful to me, and saying, any relationship that makes me uncomfortable is harmful. There is a difference between having standards and designing standards that no human being could ever satisfy. There is a difference between enjoying your own company and arranging your life so that you never have to risk being witnessed imperfectly. Sometimes we withdraw because we need to recover. But sometimes we withdraw because staying present would require us to say something vulnerable. I miss you. That hurt me. I was wrong. I need help. I care more than I wanted to. I'm afraid you will leave. These sentences are not especially optimized. They do not make us appear invulnerable, but they create the possibility of actual contact. So I want to leave you with a simple practice. I'm calling this one the Onpoint check. It has 3 parts: space, signal, and step. First, space. When you notice yourself reaching for stimulation or immediately withdrawing, pause before adding something else. It does not have to be a meditation retreat. Give yourself 60 seconds, put the phone down, stop composing the message, stop rehearsing the argument. Let the first emotional wave arrive without immediately turning it into an action. Second, signal. Name what is present as specifically as you can. Not, I feel bad. Not, I'm triggered. Try to identify the signal. I feel overlooked. I feel embarrassed. I feel unimportant. I feel overwhelmed. I feel lonely. I feel afraid that I care more than any other person does. And third, step. Choose a response that serves the underlying need rather than merely removing the immediate discomfort. Maybe you need to log off. Maybe you need to go for a walk. Maybe you need to rest. But perhaps you need to send the message. Perhaps you do need to apologize. Perhaps you need to have the awkward conversation. Perhaps you need to go somewhere people gather, even though staying home would be easier. Perhaps you need to let somebody know you are not doing as well as you look. In the last video, I said that your life does not have to become an endless self-improvement project. You are allowed to be alive without constantly measuring how effectively you are doing it. And maybe this is an extension of that. Your emotions do not always need to be fixed. Your relationships do not always need to be optimized. Your difficult moments do not always need to be converted into lessons, content, or evidence that you are evolving. Sometimes you need to experience your life before you understand it. Maybe independence is not about learning to need less. Maybe it is about understanding your needs well enough so that they no longer control you from the shadows. It is being able to sit alone without abandoning yourself, to experience an emotion without immediately becoming it, to let someone matter without handing them the responsibility for your entire sense of self, and to protect your peace without protecting yourself from every part of life that might disturb it. Because becoming on point does not mean becoming untouchable. It means becoming present, present with your emotions, present with your choices, and present with the people who make your life feel genuinely alive.